It's underestimated, it's overlooked, it's disrespected. Hi folks, it's brew day, and today I'm making brown ale. Brown ale was the very first beer I had that made me realize beer didn't have to be fizzy, yellow, and tasteless. My friends and I would pile in the car on the weekend and we'd drive from Romulus, Michigan, where we lived, over to Ann Arbor, home of the Wolverines, and play at the arcades. They had just some of the best arcades in that part of the state. And eventually we would make our way to one of the local pubs, Bimbo's being one of our favorites, to have pizza and beer. Then one night somebody ordered a pitcher of brown beer. I'd never seen brown beer before. The most exotic beer I'd ever had was Coors. At the time, you couldn't get Coors east of the Mississippi. True story. I loved it. It was awesome. Unfortunately, I never found out exactly what kind of brown ale that was. I'm guessing Newcastle because there weren't a lot of brown ales available then in the mid-1970s. There aren't a lot of brown ales available now. Brown ale was also the very first beer I made on my own. I got a home brewing kit for Christmas in the mid-1990s, and there was a brown ale extract kit that came with it. And it didn't turn out anything like what I remembered at Bimbo's. But it set me on a path to try and find or replicate that beer that I had way back then. However, I got sidetracked. There are so many great beer styles and great beers that you can make as a home brewer that I went down all kinds of different paths, and I kind of forgot about the brown ale. So, since that kit in the mid-1990s, I'm making a brown ale. Now, if you could travel back to England in the 18th century, that's the 1700s, by the way, you'd find British brown ale in a variety of strengths and original gravities ranging from 1060 all the way to 1090. Yikes. So what happened? Well, blame the hydrometer. Once brewers began using a hydrometer on a regular basis, they noticed that they were getting very poor yields using brown malt being used for the brown ales and the porters and the beers sold to the lower classes. It was a cheaper malt, made a cheaper beer, as opposed to pale malt, which was more expensive, and that was reserved for higher end beers sold to the middle and upper classes. Well, they discovered that they could use less malt by brewing with pale malt than brewing with brown malt. So that just about eliminated brown malt completely from the grists of beers starting around 1800 to 1820 or so. Now, there were exceptions to the rule, as there always were. I believe it was Whitbread, one of London's largest brewers, continued using brown malt in smaller quantities right through the 20th century. So brown ales kind of died out, but not forever. In the 1920s, Mann's Brewery brought back brown ale with a gravity of 1043. Remember the 1060s and 1090s of the 18th century? Long gone, never to return. World War II had a major impact on all beers, including brown ale, and brown ale's gravity dropped to around 1030 to 1035 for about a 3% beer, which you can still find distributed by Mann's today. Now, the recipe I'm using today comes from a fellow YouTuber, Martin Keene, who runs the Homebrew Challenge YouTube channel, where he is making, or has already made by this point, 99 beers in 99 weeks. And when I saw his recipe for London Brown Ale, I thought, I'm going to make that. So the grist contains just over 54% Maris Otter, just over 16% Crystal Extra Dark, 120 Lovibond. It's got 7.5% brown malt and another 7.5% Crystal Malt 80 Lovibond. 4.8% each of chocolate rye malt, Crystal Light, That's 45 Lovibond from Crisps, and pale chocolate malt. I mashed for 60 minutes at 154 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I fly sparged to give me a pre-boil volume of just under 9 gallons. The hops, just one addition, 1 1/4 ounce at 60 minutes. Now I was supposed to boil until I got just over 7 gallons, but at 7 3/4 I took a gravity reading and discovered that I was right where I wanted to be with my post-boil gravity, so I stopped boiling right there. My post-boil gravity was estimated at 1041. Mine came in at 1043, which is right in line with the return of brown ale in the 1920s. After chilling the wort and transferring it to the fermenter, I pitched the yeast A01 from Imperial. It's the one they call House. And my actual original gravity was 1043. Smells like a brown ale. Looks like a brown ale. Pretty dark. Hello, old friend. I can't say that this is exactly like the brown ale I had in Ann Arbor all those years ago. I've pretty much forgotten what that tastes like. But this is a good beer. I don't know why I haven't made more of these. Brown ales are really nice. Just a light, nutty toastiness to it. Not too harsh, not too dark. This is a little bit thin. I think I might play with the recipe and give it a little more oomph to the flavor profile. Brown ale. Cheers. Thought I had it at 10 to 12 pounds per square inch, but it was closer to 20.